Our parents used to work hard for 55 years, and after that 55 years, they would retire. They would live in the home they owned, and they would live out their final years. You feel that we still have that opportunity? If you do, you really don't understand what's going on around you. And this is when Southeast Asia comes into mind, with the beautiful beaches of Thailand, the chill vibe of Cambodia or Laos, and the noise and the pollution of beautiful Vietnam. And if those areas don't catch your eye, you got places like Singapore, that's like literally a Asian Los Angeles. You have the Indonesian island life. You have Japan with that long back history and culture. Or you have Taiwan that holds a true essence of the Chinese culture that was forgotten about somewhere else. But before you start planning on where to retire and how to retire, you gotta have a plan first. And you also want to know how to budget that money, because you don't want to come out here to Asia, retire, and then realize you have to get some kind of a teaching job to pay the rent. And finally, you gotta have an understanding of the visa process. How do you stay in Asia long term? So today I'm going to break down some things that you need to know before you consider and retire out here in Asia. Now, when it comes to moving out to Asia, the first thing you have to do is figure out the visa situation. What is required and what is it going to cost you to get this set up? A lot of countries out here in Asia allow you to stay long term. If you meet that retirement age of 55 and you're making at least $2,000 a month from some type of a pension. Now, if you're like me, you're probably nowhere near the age of retirement. If you're not of the age, but you have the income, there are a few other things that we can do. And that's where the nomad visa comes in. For places like Thailand, Japan, and Indonesia, you could qualify for one of these nomad visas that allow you to stay in Asia long term without having to be of the retirement age. And if you don't qualify for this stuff, you can always look into what the tourist visa process is, and if you have to do visa runs till the end of time. Now, when it comes to tourist visas, it's important to know what that country allows you to do for how long. A lot of countries in Asia only allow you to stay on tourist visas in their country for about 6 months. And this means that you're not going to have a stable spot to live. In Asia, you're going to have to divide your time into 2 separate countries. But being aware of these options and time limitations is important to know before you start the process. And this is because I've met so many expats that have come out here. They've moved all their stuff from America or Canada or the UK out to Thailand, moved into a house, paid for the year lease, and found out, oh shit, I can't get a retirement visa. I don't qualify for a nomad visa because Thailand is very strict on it. I don't want to be a teacher. And they don't let you stay past 6 months. So you have to know this stuff beforehand. Now, when it comes to the medical, I'm going to keep this very simple for you. Anything serious, you go to Singapore, you go to Thailand, or you go to Japan. For everything else, basic and dental included, anywhere in Southeast Asia, you are perfectly fine. And then the cost of living is really going to depend on the lifestyle you live out here. Typically, $1,500 a month will get you by on a basic living lifestyle without being worried about anything. Now, if you're more interested in how much it costs per day, how much does milk cost, how much does beer cost, there's a lot of websites online that break down the costs in USD to whatever the currency is on what individual things cost, like your cell phone bill, your power bill, how much food costs, how much a milk is, how much a beer is. So check those out if you want to get the details. But in general, $1,000 to $1,500 a month is ideally perfect if you're living in Southeast Asia. And I almost forgot the culture. It is so important to understand the very basics of the culture of whatever country you're going to. And for me personally, I've always lived outside of the city area, so this has been a more important thing for me than it's been for a lot of other expats. Because where I'm living is usually mostly locals, almost zero expats unless there's like a random teacher in the area. And the way I act and talk has to be conforming to the local environment. If you're in the big major city areas though, you know, like Ho Chi Minh City or Bangkok or something like that, this isn't that big of a deal because everything's rather westernized, or the people are more forgiving towards foreigners. So learn the culture, respect the culture. You are the guest. Now let's talk about the amenities, the lifestyles, and the safety of living in Southeast Asia. When you first get out here, you gotta pick where you want to live, and you have a lot of options. Some of these options can be living on the beach life, living in a major city, living out in a farm area, living in a fishing village. There are so many options out here on where you can live. And the benefits, the costs, and the cultures all vary depending where you go. When it comes to the country life, it's typically going to be some kind of a farming town, or it's going to be a fishing town, which really means there's no modern stuff going on. There's almost no expats unless it's somebody driving through. English is almost a zero. and you're almost guaranteed to hear karaoke all day. So if you are planning on moving out to the countryside, I recommend moving there for like a month, renting a hotel or a condo for the month and checking it out. It is not what people expect. Now, if you are looking for a larger expat community, just stick to the bigger cities. Now, the last part of this is actual safety. Southeast Asia in general is extremely safe for men and women alike. There isn't really any big issues. The only crimes you really witness is usually petty theft and traffic cops trying to make up fines at the end of the month to make a few extra bucks. Past that, you're not going to see a lot. I do suggest, though, if you're using a camera, if you have a phone or something like that, have it attached to you, in case a motorbike guy kind of drives by and tries to snatch it. In regards to the bigger crime, 99.9% of you guys watching this video right now will not be involved with it. This has to deal with underground mafias, Chinese gang groups in Thailand and Vietnam, deals with government, it deals with a lot of corruption, stuff like that. Most of you, as a 99.9% of you, will not deal with this. So don't worry about it. Throw it out of your mind. It's not like that. Now, the very last one, I have to bring this up. Since I've said retirement, we have to talk about marriage in Asia. Marriage is a huge talking point when it comes to the Philippines and Vietnam mostly, because there's a visa benefit that is almost the only solution to stay in these countries long term. So this is why marriage is such a big thing in places like Vietnam and the Philippines. So when it does come to getting married in places like Vietnam, let me prime you for it, because a lot of Westerners get kind of sideswiped by what actually happens during the process and after the processes. I have seen hundreds of Western people marry locals, being Vietnamese, Thai people, Filipinos. And most of them, and when I say most of them, like 90% of them end up ending within 5 years. And it's not the age gap that everyone likes to talk about. It's not even the money. It's the culture. It is typically the Westerners that are leaving. So when you are getting married out here, get to know them. Live with them. Have them live with you for a few months. And get to know the parents. Get to know the family. This is utmost importance. Know who the family is. Because we have this phrase in Vietnam, which is, it's a joke. It's a meme, whatever you want to call it. But it has so much truth behind it. It's kind of weird. When she says I do, the mother-in-law moves in. And I thought it was a joke. And then I started seeing it happen countless times. So keep in mind, and this is mostly Asian culture in general, when you marry the girl, you're marrying the family. You're taking all of that with it. It's not just her. And this is a big reason why I say get to know her. Get to know the family before you finalize any of this stuff. I'm not saying all Vietnamese women are bad or the families are bad. Not at all. But know what you're walking into. Don't get married in a foreign country to a woman you barely know, a family you've never met. Now, in regards to the actual process, it's good to research a lot of this stuff before you actually come to the country, be it in Thailand or Vietnam. It really doesn't matter, because a lot of the requirements are going to be documents you need from your home country. And unless you're American, you have to deal with your country back home, meaning you got to mail stuff internationally. So definitely look into what's required before you do. Getting married abroad, there is a lot more required than if you brought like a Vietnamese girl or a Thai girl back to Australia or back to America, where it's pretty much sign a couple documents and you're done. Out here, it is a whole process, and it usually takes 3 to 5 months. And I can't stress this enough. Make sure you know who you're marrying. Make sure you understand her family and her uncles and all of them. Because this is the biggest reason I see Western people walk away from marriages in Asia, is because of the family. It's not the wife, it's not the sex, it's not the money, it's the wife's families typically. Because a lot of these families, when you get married, they see you as a paycheck. They see you as support. They see you as a solution to their lifetime of bad decisions and mistakes. So keep that in mind, but don't think that's how all parents are. They're not. But it isn't uncommon. So don't be that guy that walks in blindly from a Tinder date, gets married, and then a month and a half later, your mother-in-law is like, oh, my leg hurts. I have to move in with you. I'll wash your TV. Don't be that guy. So there you have it, guys. I think a good, comprehensive, quick guide to what you should be aware of before you consider retiring out here in Asia. Be prepared, know what you need, know the process you have to take, what paperwork and documents are required. It is much smarter and faster to get all this done than just fly out here with a pocket full of money thinking you just buy your way through a bunch of stuff. And I didn't talk about this today, but it's important to have everything back home settled. Get your bills figured out. Get your banking figured out. Have a VoIP phone so you can call home if there's ever an emergency. And make sure you have any debts and stuff like that taken care of. I've met a lot of people that have flown out to Asia, especially Vietnam, that are hiding from stuff, that are trying to reset their life by ignoring the past. Don't do that, because the moment you go into that embassy, because you're going to have to renew that passport eventually, they're going to tell you, no, you need to go back home because you got legal problems. So don't run and hide. It will catch up to you. And if you need any suggestions for phones to use or mailboxes, like digital mailboxes, check below. I linked a digital PO box that I use that's from Delaware. It's tax-free. Everything that I buy online is tax-free because I have that address. Check it out there. I think you get like 2 months free with the link. So, till then guys, I'm going to get out of here. I will see you again.